are back once a motherfucking again for the Schmeat Nation 3 podcast. I can't remember if this one's back to being sponsored or not, but week 6 in the books, a dud of a week. Shout out to the teams that made it through. Bigger shout out to the teams that lost. That always hurts. Welcome in again, Adam. How are you feeling?
I'm doing well, coming off a pretty crazy week almost. It's crazy how much people are talking about it around the league, but there's like 100 less touchdowns scored this year compared to last year at week 6. So that's just insane to me. It's kind of crazy how it's both affecting fantasy and, football in general. It's just nuts, man. Scoring's way down this year. But
Yeah, you hate to hear
it's
it.
got to be winners and losers still. So here we are.
There's always, every time I go into a new year, I'm always thinking, what if just no one scored touchdowns this year? What if that happened? So I might have manifested that one. Gonna start off with a couple trades. Uh, the only person who trades, Eddie, who I got to rebrand his team name now, so he's now Trader Eds, and we'll take a look at his picture later. Cute little imagery there. Right after our previous video, so for this week, Eddie sent out Najee Harris and George Kittle for Joe Mixon and TJ Hawkinson, and like immediately I was like, ooh, finally a trade. I feel like Eddie got the better deal. What'd you think of this one?
The first trade that I've liked all year. Um, I think that he finally ended up with the better parts in this deal, like being able to unload Najee Harris, who's been struggling all year, and George Kittle as well, getting rid of two guys that were struggling for at least one in Joe Mixon, who has insane upside. So I loved this trade on Eddie's part, but then going into the next trade, he just immediately flipped that piece right around and said, "Nope, see you, Joe." So yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on this second trade to Parker?
Well, to highlight the first one, I always like to get the best player in the trade, and I think Joe Mixon is that guy. And then I guess I would say that again. I don't hate it. I mean, it's a 4-stack trade, so these ones you really need to wait and see. I mean, like in name value, I guess I like it from Parker's side. I think Joe Mixon and D Hop are the better pieces, but then like Devin Singletary's been fine, and you're getting a guy who has a chance to end. I mean, he's 2 right now. I guess maybe no one's catching Josh Allen. That might be safe to say. But like in 6-point touchdown, Mahomes can win you a week, and that seems like something Eddie has struggled to do is win a week. So this one I'd much rather wait and see because like Gino's just been there. He's been great, top 6. So there's more fear on Parker's side though for sure. Like Eddie's at least getting guys who I think are locks to do what they've been doing, whereas like it wouldn't surprise me if Gino falls off a cliff. Curtis Samuel seems to already have. Like I think his best games are behind him. Kind of looks like it. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's sort of the same boat for me, but like anytime you trade for a defense just feels like a waste in a trade. And like I feel like I would rather have Joe Mixon and D Hop than, Patrick Mahomes and Devin Singletary. Like it just really, you say Devin Singletary's been doing fine, but what's he scored in the double digits twice this year or 3 times? Like, he's done fine, I guess, if you look at the averages, but he definitely
Yeah.
has dud weeks. And on a team for like, it just seems to me like he traded away so much of his pop off potential for guys that are going to score like in the mid teens, which being 1 and 5, you kind of need to start just absolutely going off. But I guess
Yeah,
Amari
Amari.
Cooper's going off. But I
It'll
think
be
with
interesting to
Hollywood
see.
Brown out, D Hop is going to be way better than Amari. Like it's tough to say, obviously, as it happens, and with DeAndre Hopkins not having played yet this year. But I think that Parker just snaked this so hard. I think Parker's getting a way better deal on this.
I think we undervalue the QB. Like I don't know. Maybe Gino will continue to be great, and then it's like the artillery or peripheral pieces end up performing better. But we'll see. We'll talk about it a lot more this episode as we cover Eddie's team moving into last week and a fucking nail biter. And the reason I got to change Eddie's name, uh, yeah, I don't know. It didn't feel great, but I think looking around the league, and I think I was still top six in points. So sometimes that's all you need to win, and a W is a W. You have any highlight takeaways from this?
Yeah, certainly just a low scoring week all around the league, and this game showed it. Really unfortunate that he got -4 from the defense, and that's just
Yeah, I think he would have
you
won.
hate for that to be
Yeah.
the reason that you lose. Like just playing a defense that gets negative points just is like a kick in the nuts, man. It hurts so bad.
He had, I
So
think, he had so many different ways. I think if he played anyone else, yeah, if he played any other starter in his lineup, then he would have won. But, you sit there all week and stare at your team. So to make the wrong decision,
yeah, you gotta
devastating.
make those decisions
Yeah.
for you. Yeah, I mean, your running backs are looking solid. Ken Walker is just a steal at this point. Like with Rashad Penny going down, that's got to feel really good for you. And next week, getting Derrick Henry back off the bye, your running backs just look insane. I think your team is set up to go for the long haul. I think Derrick Henry will only get better as the year goes on, and same thing with Ken Walker. Like I really like your team heading into the latter half of the season.
Yeah, I'm stoked on this one. There's definitely some guys who knows if I'll keep holding on to them. I'm getting a little tired of Michael Thomas. I feel like in a six-person bench, having a person who just doesn't play is brutal, especially when each week it says he might play. And then like Mike Williams and DK, like my draft approach is just to have guys who are going to do this, so I don't really get super frustrated if I can have a decent floor. These guys are going to help me win a week when I need to put up more points.
Yeah,
So an understandable journey, but I won and I got to change Eddie's name. That's what counts. And then
that's all you can
just
ask for.
a fucking another one from Connor. An absolutely dominant performance.
Yeah.
He didn't need to do he could have gone half of this and been fine, but why not just run up the score on Seth? And this is just one where Seth, as soon as the first games were over on Sunday morning, he's just like, all right, let's go next.
Yeah, there's really not much you could do here. It sucks having Deontay or Devontae Adams on by, uh, but yeah, it's really starting to look a little bit dark for Seth's team. I don't know what he can do to turn it around. I mean, Kyle Pitts finally scoring in the double digits, finally getting a touchdown, but still like just coming in a week where yeah, it just the upside of this team. I mean, who else is on his bench? If this is going to be his starting lineup going forward, it just looks ugly. And
Yeah, he
going back
definitely
to
needs
Connor, like
Olave.
we definitely give him shit for his wide receivers, but like I guess all he needs is one of them to get 20 points, and this is normal. Like getting zero from the defense as well. Connor's team is just insane. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, because I think Christian Kirk, Juju, and Jacoby Myers are safe to get 10. And then it's like, maybe Ramondre Stevenson has Damian Harris come back. But then other than that, this is just the points he's going to score. Like, this is what they do. Austin
Yeah,
Eckler, Fournette, they get 20. Josh Allen will get 30. 23 might be high for Mark Andrews, but it's also not really. Like, so
yeah,
as goose egg and a four once again. So, yeah, I mean, no, no, we don't need to berate it too much. We'll see into the rankings and next week's matchups, but his team's really good. And that's the Josh Allen difference. I mean,
yeah, for real. The Josh Allen and Mark Andrews difference is just, yeah, I wish this were my team.
I'll say it every week until next week's fucking or next year's draft, but it's like QB and tight end should probably be going earlier. They're just like shaking up the
Yeah, for
landscape.
real.
Tight end for sure, but then in 6 point, like it's too easy for Josh Allen to get game breaking points. Moving on into the 1-5 Goober Nation now against you, the Fighting Deans, and another experiencing the dud of that was this week in score, but you clutch it out and get a bounce back win.
Yeah, I was really nervous going into Monday Night Football just because I think I had an 11-point lead last week, and it was CEH versus Josh Jacobs, and I ended up losing that one. But So I was worried that I was going to have to watch myself lose again on Monday night. But luckily, Russell Wilson, after a solid quarter one where he goes off for 10 points, just gets like, less than 50 yards the rest of the game. So something's off there. Deion Jackson putting up Christian McCaffrey numbers. Maybe that's a good sign for Jonathan Taylor coming back. But yeah, once again, just low scoring all around the league. Mike Evans, Tom Brady just looked pissed out there. So maybe some worry starts to creep in for Tampa Bay wide receivers. Is Brady fully committed to this year? It's tough to say at this point. But I had a pretty bad bye week this week in Detroit being on bye, and one of my best players there. So hopefully we can come back strong.
Yeah, that was pretty aptly timed though, because Amon-Ra was dealing with his thing, so getting another week off just to sit and rest, and then yeah, Brad with the JT, obviously he hasn't been doing a ton, and he got the better sub in, but a noteworthy buy. There's the Marquise Brown injury really hurts for Brad's team too. Moving in
Yeah.
to what I think, besides me and Eddie, was the closest game. Oh my God, there's a lot of close games. No, never mind. I take it back. Edit that out in post. Parker versus Max coming in here. Parker moves on to 5-1. We were a pretty solid victory. Obviously, we've talked about this kind of being the scenario that he only really has 3 guys, but Brees Hall looks like a stud, so maybe we can slot it in as he has 4 guys now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't think he'll have to start. You could probably start Eno Benjamin going forward and won't have to start Michael Carter because he can slide Brandon Cooks in there. Hopefully, Damian Harris comes back soon for him. But yeah, Connor or Parker coming away with a good win this week. He's done solid so far without Keenan Allen in the roster, so I think his team only gets stronger as the year goes on. He's sort of in the same boat as Connor, where I think his team just looks solid for the rest of the year. And then after that trade with Eddie, I think his team's looks good going into the second half of the season. So not much to complain about on his end.
Yeah, he's out there moving. The Cooper Cup difference is so nice. So it looks like the Chargers really need Keenan Allen too. So if he can set up a good floor for him, he should look nice with the bolstered running back room.
Yeah, for real.
Moving into another close game here, Jasper taking down Kalen. I predicted this upset, and then Carson Wentz got slotted into the roster, so getting the 4 from him hurts. But again, like low scoring, but then there's the highlights. Like Tyreek Hill, like what a steal! Like he's performing, you know, early
Just
second
as good as
round.
he did on
Yeah,
the Chiefs. Yeah.
he's being a monster.
Yeah, there seems to
Jackson,
be
Melvin
no drop
Gordon dropped
off in
it for him,
production. Yeah.
but with Josh Jacobs on the
Yeah,
bye,
but
so he surprised it.
he gets Josh Jacobs back from bye. He won't have to start Gerald Everett anymore if Dalton Schultz is back. Unfortunate that he, forgot to play Brandon. Or I guess not forgot, but missed out on the Brandon Ayuk pop off week. Like, how are you going to project that though? The double touchdown week, that's tough. But hopefully
Yeah,
he has a guy going forward. On Kalen's side, yeah, I finally got the game where Jamar Chase and T Higgins, both do well enough, but it's just tough for him. And that QB really was a bad play. And same thing with Philip Lindsay.
yeah, and this is kind of what we talk about when you have 2 guys from the same team, because it's like, yeah, Jamar Chase got 32, but what does this average out to? 21 each. So like it's great, but your upside's just capped when one of them steals it all. So like if one of them has a great game, the other guy generally isn't also getting fed.
Going to, yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
tough for
that's
him.
true.
And we'll see how that works out moving forward. There's a lot of movement in the league, but Eddie hasn't targeted Kalen's team quite yet, or Kalen hasn't been
Yeah.
accepting them. And then moving on to the upset that I predicted. This is what Jamie has been doing all year, and she just was getting unlucky with the matchups. So she puts up 126 and gets a pretty clean W over Reese, even with major performance from Stephon Diggs, and then Najee surprisingly getting in the end zone after he kind of berated him a little bit last week, and then Kittle did well as well. So he's not feeling too bad on the trade at the moment. but didn't get him a W here. And on Jamie's side, just the Joe Burrow return to Louisiana and Robert Tunyon just a check down machine with another solid week from Gabe Davis. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, yeah, another good week from Jamie here. Like I guess 126 being the second highest on the week is just showing off that low scoring. But I think once DeAndre Swift comes back for her, she'll just have another 15 to 20 point running back in there. I think there's definitely upside for her. Rondale Moore might be a good option for her to go to now that Hollywood Brown is down. He might see a bigger share in that offense, so things might be looking up there. She's won 2 in a row now, so things are definitely looking up
Yeah,
for Jamie and her
heating
jocks.
up for Jamie and
Yeah,
her
for
jocks.
real.
Anything more needing to be harped on?
I don't think so. Oh, it was good week of fantasy football.
Yeah,
Fun,
something like
as
that.
always.
I guess we got a W. We could jump into the standings really quickly before touching on our rankings. Parker up at 5-1 as well. Maybe he was 4-1 last week. I can't remember. And then some slight separation occurring. We don't have the massive stack of 3-2 teams anymore, but things are definitely
Mhm.
shaking up now.
Yeah, certainly. It really looks like the fight for those, fifth and sixth spot in the playoffs is going to be real tough. Although it does look like there's a pretty big point drop off between fifth and sixth place.
Yeah, it is. I
So
don't know if I've ever seen it where it's like the top six are all top six in scoring. Like it's too linear, you know. Obviously Ed. Now I'm gonna start calling him Ed the whole time. Eddie's taken a little bit of heat here being 11th and there. I think the points allowed. It's still Jamie up there and
it's Jamie.
Eddie's only right there, so I guess Max would
Yeah,
be the one who needs to
I
start
think
performing.
his points for is very inflated by his 200-point week. I don't think he has averaged. If you take that week out,
Oh
I
my
think he's
god, yeah.
averaging more in like the 110.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but you're right. That's funny.
Yeah,
So Eddie and Brad both going with the weight and scale. This is where Brad went on the run of all runs last year, so we're excited to see how it goes and
I just
jumping
start
in
putting those waiver wire claims in, baby.
and putting into the power rankings. A little bit of a shift, but we were synchronized on who was the one here. Connor overtaking the top spot, and how do
Yeah,
you not after the weeks he's been
it's
having?
just clear. Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. As much as I hate moving myself off from the number one slot, even after a win, it's just the amount of convincing points that Connor's team just there's no denying that he has the best team right now.
Yeah, he's looking like he's gonna do pretty well moving forward. He's might have a tough week this week with Josh Allen gone, but he's also got his guy Tua back. Scrambled eggs brains have been fixed, and he's ready to get back onto the field. And then
Yeah,
some highlights, I guess. I brought you down to 4. I rank for the upcoming week. So I thought my team had a little bit of a nicer move with the bye weeks coming in and then Jasper as well. Parker's hit pretty heavy with Cup out, and you've got a lot of Eagles guys gone as well. So dropped you down. But otherwise, no major movers. Jamie up a couple. I think she also has a little bit of an edge on other people in terms of buys. She did lose Dalvin Cook, but most of the pieces are still there too. And then Max was hit pretty hard because Justin Jeffers isn't out, one of his quad players that he needs to do well.
yeah. I do think that getting into the bye weeks, it does start getting tough to rank these teams. Like you said, I feel like the top 5 are all pretty set in stone at this point. I think there's a pretty big tier break after those top 5 teams, but after that, I feel like there's just so many teams that I wouldn't want to have right now.
Yeah, there's definitely some looking rough, but this is kind of where you can always turn it around, especially as people get injured and that random guy on your bench becomes the leader in the backfield or something like that. So
Yeah, exactly.
we'll move in.
Yeah.
Who should we dive into? We'll try to keep it quick if we need to dive in at all.
Um, yeah, I think we should definitely go over Eddie's team after all those trades.
That makes sense to me. Where
What do
is
you?
he?
I think I have him ranked 11. Where did you have him?
He went up to 8 on mine. I did like his outlook, especially for this week, because San Francisco's defense is hurting. And then I love Damian Pierce moving forward and Devo Samuel in that Kansas City shootout. So I like the team. He definitely has some question marks. Like no one's a lock, but that's how you end up with 200 points on a week. Like you have guys who are.
But he has no one from that team still. That's my problem. This is like his chronic need to make trades is just like completely shifted everything for him. Like I feel like making that many trades, your team isn't getting better. And I think it shows you. Like I don't think this team is that good. You say you like Davian Pierce looking going forward, and he's definitely the workhorse in that back. But looking at Houston's schedule from like week 8 on is just brutal. Like they face a lot of really good defenses.
I guess. I don't know.
Like starting
He
at
plays
that
good.
Philadelphia game, Philadelphia, then the Giants, and then Miami, Cleveland, and Dallas, like and Kansas City. Like I feel like all those teams have shut down the run really well.
I don't
So
think it'll
I
matter for
mean,
him though.
he'll get all of the work. So
Yeah.
if he's gonna do something, he's gonna start doing it now. I guess he has done it the past couple of
I
weeks,
think
but
he's
I don't know
fine.
how.
I do forget. Oh, Devin Singletary's on the bye. I was like, he does have to start Tony Pollard, which isn't great, but I like Mahomes can just make up
I
for
think Tony Pollard has more of a potential to get more points than Devin Singletary, though. Like
Oh my God.
maybe I'm just jaded against this team, but it just feels like he has just capped his team so hard.
You're an old
I don't
school fantasy
know.
football player. Anti-trade. Too many.
I'm not anti-trade. I'm anti-trading just to trade. I don't know.
He's got the guys he wants. I mean, I think over last week he definitely needed to make some moves. He's 1-5, but maybe he's 1-5 because of
Fair
the moves.
enough. Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't help at this point. Plus, look at this beautiful work of art I made. I don't think I can dive deeper on his team. Never mind. But everyone should go look at his team. Gorgeous. And then I think Parker's team as well is a solid look because he had a bunch of moving pieces. And he's pretty high up there. So
Yeah, he lost Patrick Mahomes and Devin Singletary.
I didn't even think having Cooper Cup, D Hop, and Keenan Allen later on in the season when games are getting slightly more
Yeah, and now
passed
he
to the
has
guy you
Joe
know you
Mixon to
can
anchor
catch
as
it.
running back.
Yeah. That is a
Yeah,
solid J for him. He still
I
has
mean
2
this
tight
team
ends.
to me is just insane. Yeah, I think
Definitely looking solid.
his team looks so good moving forward.
Yeah. Good moves
Yeah,
by him.
there's not really much more to say about it other than
Throwing
that.
dogs around. Any
Yeah,
more we want to hit on? We'll talk about them in the matchups, huh?
yeah, I think we can just get straight to the
And as we
matchups.
thought, last week was
We both
fairly
went
good.
5-1 last week. Yeah,
That's good for us. 16-8, good for the brand. That's why we're on the mics.
for real. We know our shit when it comes to fantasy, right? This is why we put in the hours, baby.
Put in the hours so you don't have to. Playing against my ride or die to kick off week 7. I'm slightly torn, but then Seth's team trending down, but he does get his guys back, which will feel nice. I think he needs Chris Olave as just kind of a second anchor because these guys are a little bit more wily and Bateman and Gallup. But at the same time, I also think this is a tough break for him because I might be one of the few teams that isn't going to be super impacted by the major teams going on bye this week because all I lost was Devonta Smith, but I'm able to just slot Ken Walker in there. So feels good about my team at the moment. I do enjoy it.
Yeah, I think your
Might need a tight
team
end.
since like week 2 or 3 has definitely been trending in the upwards direction, whereas I think Seth has been just the outlook is more bleak than it was, a couple of weeks ago. I yeah, for him getting Devontae Adams back off by that'll feel good. But I don't know if Chris Olave is playing again. And even if Chris Olave is playing, he's going up against Byron Murphy, who has been able to shut down like DK Metcalf and everyone else he's been playing against. So I
I
don't
didn't
know.
even
I
think
think this
about
is
it.
a
Yeah.
tough week for him.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even think about that matchup. It does seem like you might as well bench your guys, even though there's no absolute way you could bench him. But DK Metcalf did nothing last week just to follow in line with it. I think against Seattle, this will be a get back game for the guys that kind of carry my team. If Herbert can get it to Mike Williams once on a big play, then that really might blow this open. We'll see. Again, like I'm always playing someone who has a lot of pieces on Thursday. I think I'll feel either pretty good or pretty bad following these two performances. So, because those are going to make the
Yeah,
difference. Kyler Murray needs
base
to go off.
mhm. Just based on those matchups, I think you should be fine looking into Sunday. Um, I think I'm going to take you in this matchup. I think the matchups are too much to overcome. Michael Gallup has a good matchup, but I don't think he will be the one benefiting from having playing the Lions defense. I think it'll be more of a CeeDee Lamb game.
Yeah, I'll take me as well, as much as I want to take Seth. I think I have like a stretch of Eddie. I had Kalen, Eddie, Seth, and Brad, and it's just like, ooh, that could get me high up into the standings. So we'll see if any upsets come, but I'm feeling pretty good in
Yeah.
the outlook. And moving on from a ride or die of the past to my ride or die of the present, Jamie's team has turned it alive, coming in with 2 wins now, and it looks pretty solid against Max, who's going to be down his stud in Justin Jefferson. So whenever they lose their first
Mm-hmm.
pick and you're kind of still thriving with some guys since Jamie was around the turn with D Swift back in the lineup. I think Max would need a lot to overcome and to go his way to win. That being said, when you're dancing with teams like Jamie's who have underperformed some weeks, sometimes you just need to grit it out too.
Yeah, Max losing Justin Jefferson is definitely a massive hit to his team. But on Jamie's side, I don't know if DeAndre Swift is a 100% for this Sunday. You would hope he would be coming off of a bye like that, but maybe they'll keep him on a pitch count. So if Swift doesn't play, I think this is a lot more of an even matchup. But like you said, losing Justin Jefferson for Max is just devastating. There's not really much you can't really replace something like that. Like he's gonna have to slide in Brandon Cooks there. That doesn't feel good.
They should be throwing it a lot though. Oh, I guess they're playing the Raiders. Never mind. Who knows? We'll see. I think
Yeah.
this one will be closer in the projection, like because Max should have a guy in there who's what 13. Yeah, so it'll be about 5 points off. Not like they super matter. I didn't even think about the fact that D Swift might be limited. Just assumed he would be great. But I will take Jamie again. How can I not now that we're heating
Yeah.
up in picks?
I'm also gonna take Jamie here. Like you just gotta, right?
Yeah,
After 2 wins in a row with Max's team with the number one guy on by. It's tough not to. Tough not to.
moving in. We got the 4-2 Comrade Red Rockets going against the truly desperate Trader Eds at 1-5. This is where you need to start thinking about getting wins. It gets a little shaky once other people in the league are hitting 6 wins, and that's looking like a stretch goal for your team. Just since at any moment you can lose a game of fantasy football. But he's making the moves to do it, you could say. Jasper's team is pretty formidable, though. I don't know if he has anyone on the bye. He has his defense. No, he's got Bucks. So
Yeah, just I think this is truly a make or break team for Eddie. Like if he's gonna start getting the wins, they need to start coming now before it's too late. Um, yeah, I don't know what that questionable is for Lamar. So hopefully, as long as he's playing, I mean that's just instant advantage, even over Patrick Mahomes. Gets Josh Jacobs back off by, so hopefully he's fresh and ready to go playing up against Houston. You love to have a matchup in that. And Alvin Kamara looks like he's all the way back now, so that's just super nice for Jasper's team. It's a bit to make up for his flex where Brandon Ayuk, he could go off again, but he could stay there. Eddie's team, like I said, I just don't really see it. I think he's got a lot of guys that are struggling, but what do I know, man? Go out and prove me wrong, Eddie.
I love
I'm
where
gonna
this
take
is
Jasper.
trending. I love that. Give me Eddie, dude. Absolutely. He's got dogs, man. I love the matchups. Patrick Mahomes can easily come QB1 on the week. Yeah,
Fair
I'll
enough.
take
Yeah,
Eddie for
yeah.
sure.
I mean,
Enough said. Although I don't, is it hard? Dallas is tough to run against, right? Oh, he doesn't have anyone. I'm having a stroke. Oh, that was Jamie's team with D Swift.
yeah.
I was on lag delay, all right. Moving into your matchup now. This is you're gonna need to dig in now, boys. With the bye weeks hitting you once again. You get Amon Ra back, but having to start Derek Carr never feels great.
Yeah, it is Derek Carr against Houston though, so that does make me feel a little bit better about the play. Um, yeah, I'm on Ross St. Brown back, but I have AJ Brown on bye, so not really much there. I'm kind of having an existential crisis about my flex this week. I don't really know what I'm doing there, but yeah, it's going to be tough for the boys to come out this week. But again, I don't really think Reese has a ton of firepower either. I mean, he's got Stephon Diggs on by this week, so that's a big bonus for me. Both have top wide receivers on by. His is a little bit more of a top receiver than mine, but I also have my number one QB on by, so it's about even in terms of buys, I would say.
Yeah, I think it levels out, especially with Diggs being the number one receiver as a whole on the year after last week's performance. It's tough to rally behind because you see the projections and you're like, oh, these guys, it's not a gimme, and that's just putting up 119. So you hate to see it, but then CMC up against Tampa Bay, like I guess this is all coming from dump offs, is what you
Yeah,
gotta
they certainly
imagine.
dumped it off a lot to him last week.
Yeah, they're back doing
Matt
that.
Rule
They're
finally
just
getting
chucking
fired.
it. Oh man, but I don't know. Can I go with Reese? It's so off brand. Are you taking yourself?
I am sticking with myself. I think we can do it this week. But if there was going to be a week where I wasn't me and I had to pick against my team, this is probably I would pick against my
Yeah,
team.
I just love it. I love the Zeke against Detroit with Dak back. Dak and Zeke love each other. So I'll go Reese. It's very shocking and jarring, and the character development over these first 6 episodes really being shined through. I just think Tyler Lockett gets back in it this week and is enough to kind of make up slightly. Obviously, there's absolutely no faith in Jared Judy, but then but Jeff Wilson. Oh well, I've already locked in. Talking myself down. Here we go. Talk about a time for your team to come alive with Jonathan Taylor back. The 1-5 Bradley Lamb finally gets a matchup on paper he should love against the 2-4 Kalen, whose team is just slightly all over the place. But he does get Jared Goff back against Dallas, I guess, is something I never thought I'd be saying moving into it. I think the receivers for Kalen are gonna be the ones that can make the difference. The Chase T. Higgins, but we saw when one of them gets the full pie, the other just kind of balances it out.
Yeah,
So
but I mean, they really only are projected, 35 points between the two of them. So anytime you go above projections is exciting, which they did last week. So. And CD, I think, could absolutely feast again in this game. I don't really have much faith in any part of that Detroit defense. Might try and slide someone else except for Garrett Wilson in there. I mean, Zach Wilson, I think, only completed 10 passes last game. So it's looking to be similar to a Atlanta receiving core there, where it's just the pie is so tiny you can't really trust any pass catchers in that offense.
he does.
Um,
Everything's different
yeah,
when you get David Montgomery in there and a tight end. I like. It's not half his team is not in the lineup. But then again, I tried to
I
bank on him picking guys who were
know,
solid,
right?
and then I
That's
saw
my
Carson
problem.
Wentz get slotted in. Maybe he was the best on the wire at the time, but never feels
Yeah,
great.
that's what I would assume.
But I
Yeah,
will
I
go
assume
Brad here.
he's
I think
going
he
with
gets it.
Jared Goff. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Jared
Oh
Goff. He
man,
needs a defense.
yeah, I think you know what. I have faith in Kalen this week to pull it off. I'm going to take Kalen.
Really, I think this
Going a
is a
bit
bounce back.
bold here, man.
Not only that, but he gets Taysom Hill on a primetime game. They love busting out the white cannon, giving him some direct snaps, and then Arizona's shit against tight ends. And technically,
Is it
Taysom Hill is
just
one.
a Taysom Hill thing against NFC West bird teams?
Yeah, he's
How many
disgusting against
touchdowns
them,
is he gonna get?
for real. Plus, I think Dobbs now with Randall Cobb out. Like Green Bay is just starting to lose receivers, and it doesn't matter about Aaron Rodgers' connection with anyone
Yeah,
else.
but having two flex players from the Washington Commanders, it's just tough for me to get any sort of excited about that. Like,
I guess somebody gets
I don't know.
Brad. He
I think
finally has a
like
quarterback.
it's
Think about
just
Brad this whole season running Russell Wilson. Like he finally has a dog. Who
it's
knows though? I guess
brutal,
he had the
man.
same injury as Russ.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'll wait till I see it. But yeah,
And moving into one of the hypiest matchups of the week we've had so far.
Man,
Let's make this one count.
The 5-1 week one fluke going into the 4-2 marginal mans. An unfortunate timing for buys on Parker's end, but I still think this one should be good. He's kind of slotted around and made some money moves for himself here, especially based off the matchup with some of these guys. Like, I think it could be pretty juicy going in. And then D Hop finally returning in desperation, but on the other side, an absolute force and a weapon. Fantasy football genius. He's constantly grinding in the off season, always learning, always trying to get better in Connor, and a team that just looks unstoppable.
yeah, they do say that you win the season in the draft, and Connor obviously put his work in. Just truly unfortunate that this is the draw that Parker gets on this mega bye week for him. His team, like this matchup, could be very much could be a preview of the championship game. I mean, both of these teams look like they have studs up and down the roster. Yeah, I mean, not really much more to say other than that. Like, I think this matchup is one of the better ones that we'll have all season. It's exciting that D Hop is finally back. I'm excited to see him in there. We'll see if Keenan Allen actually plays this week or if he continues to be has that whatever it is lingering. So hopefully we can see Parker at full strength soon, but he's got himself to a formidable spot where he's setting himself up good for the bye. Yeah.
And it's just like it's like I was forgetting a little bit what two was doing, but he had only one game. Like
Jesus
I thought he
Christ.
was doing like great. And then I went in and checked and he had one game. So it's like I don't know how I guess he got hurt in that other one. I can't remember if he's solid or not. Like I can't remember what he was like. He's no Josh Allen, but he's projected kind of similar. So this one could come down to the QB, but also
Mm-hmm.
like Eckler and Fournette. Brady's absolutely fucking livid, so I'm sure Fournette's just been starving himself. The team top down, like you can tell this guy was alert and awake the entire draft. It's just like clean and solid, like nothing going on, and just a tough week for Parker. It should be something like prime time Sunday night football matchup, but Parker might just be taking the L on this one, and that'll tie up their rankings and give that
Yeah.
position.
I think what's very special about this particular matchup, if they were both at full strength, is Parker clearly has the advantage all around the board on wide receivers, like having D Hop, Keenan Allen, and Cooper Cup when he's back. And then Connor kind of has like those big advantages everywhere else. So it'll be interesting to see as the season goes on which strategy is more more powerful, I guess. So
Yeah, it will be curious. I would love to make some kind of parody of this matchup, but I'll take Connor here in kind of a cheesy one. But how do you not?
yeah, I have to take Connor as well. Number one in the rankings, and just Parker with most of his team on bye, it feels
He
like.
just his it's just so easy for him to put up so many points because he has guys that have a solid floor of being kind of shit, but that's all he needs because he's got guys who are beasts. So,
Yeah,
and
I
then
mean,
like
Austin Eckler and Leonard Fournette with the amount of passes they're catching.
I just also love like Christian Kirk can have a pop off week. Chase Claypool, I guess, can have a pop off week. But then he's also got guys who can have pop off weeks. So he's built it right. He's built it well. And he's getting Josh Allen's bye week out at a great time
Yeah.
going against the bye week hell that is week 1 fluke. We
Like you
both
said,
going
just
Connor then?
watching everyone's strategy in the draft and drafting the best talent around, gotta respect it.
We're both on Parker or Connor.
Yes, I took Connor as well.
God, look at the map. Insane.
Yeah. Big weeks for Connor.
Yeah. Oh man. Week 7. It's the halfway point. Super sad. I hate when fantasy ends. You have to go back to just real life all the time, but we're still a long ways away. Still enough time to make a
Yeah.
run. If you're Brad or Eddie, definitely need to start that run at some point.
Yeah, for real. Definitely time for those teams at the bottom to start picking up some of those wins. I don't know if they've had rough schedules so far and if they kind of get into an easier spot or if they just need to, just start getting guys in the end zone. I don't know what it is, but it'll come, hopefully.
I think we all want guys in the end zone, so we'll hit it.
Yeah.
Schmeat Nation, good luck out there. It's hard out here. It's getting gritty,
Mhm.
but you love to see it. Any last words?
Good luck to everyone in week 7. Yeah. Reese, not to you. You're going down.
A good matchup. All right, peace, everyone.
Yeah.